Say the defendant was the last person seen with his mother before her body was found by neighbors back on September 16th. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
The Monterey Bay Aquarium is more than a place to learn about ocean animals. They're also working to inspire conservation of the ocean by stopping plastic pollution, supporting sustainable seafood, and minimizing our carbon footprint. Join them in their efforts to protect the ocean.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Impressive win for the Clippers last night in their season opener against Portland. Kawhi Leonard made all 5 of his three-pointers. He finished with 23 points. Paul George had a game-high 27. The Clippers are at Utah Friday night. The Lakers play their home opener tonight against Phoenix. Tip-off at 7 on TNT. Houston Astros manager Dusty Baker is retiring. The 74-year-old Baker had a 26-year career as a manager with 5 teams. His 2,183 wins in the regular season ranked 7th all-time. He's 4th all-time with 57 postseason wins. As a player, Baker played 8 of his 19 Major League seasons with the Dodgers. Baker's retirement leaves the Dodgers' Dave Roberts as Major League Baseball's only black manager. Major League Baseball needs to fix that stat. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Time is truly wasted. There's no guarantee. Smile is in the making. We gotta fight the powers that be. Got so many voices saying all the same. Giving up all around me. Faces full of pain. I try to play my music, they say my music's too loud. I try talking about it, I got the big run around. And when I roll with the punches, I got knocked on the ground by all this bullshit going down.
KBLA Talk 1580. Happy to welcome in for our National Hour, taking it global today. A veteran social and political activist. He was an independent presidential candidate back in 1992, served as the executive director of the National Rainbow Coalition in the 80s, and is currently the president of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, a lecturer emeritus at York College, City University of New York. And he's got articles and essays appearing, among other places, at the IBW website, ibw21.org. Dr. Ron Daniels, good morning.
Good morning. I heard that theme song. I was getting ready to go ahead and open up the show.
There you go. That's
Great to be with you, Dominique, and always great to be on this great station. Incredible power and information. My dear friend for many, many years, Tavis Smiley, launching this hugely necessary and essential project. Shout out to my IBW board member, Baba Akili, who is associated with the station, as well as Dr. Melina Abdullah, Black Lives Matter. Got a whole bunch of peeps out there in L.A., and glad to be on with you today.
We sure do. And I should have mentioned in your intro that you're also a radio person yourself with a show on WBAI in New York, which, of course, is part of, a legacy of activism on the airwaves for black folks.
Oh yeah. And then of course we have a new project that Tavis is helping us with, Black World Media Network, kind of synergistic relationship there, and a lot of good stuff. And I'm also convener of the National African American Reparations Commission.
Right, which you definitely want to get to that. While we're doing shout outs, I know that you've worked with my brother Raz Baraka on a number of projects, including in the city of Newark, where he presides
Lord,
as
have
mayor.
Mercy. You got to be kidding me. You know we work with, that's our mayor. I just talked to him, had a conversation with him about, maybe a month ago, because, we focus on Newark.
Yeah.
He is arguably Black America's most progressive mayor, and I don't say that. So we have been focused on Newark. In fact, we convened, in 2019, and Baba Akili was a part of it, as was Damian Goodman. It's no longer the Subway Coalition. It's a bigger, broader project now.
Yeah, downtown Crenshaw and the Liberty Land Trust.
Yeah, right. We convened a national emergency summit in Newark that Mayor Raz Baraka hosted, and it was an incredible summit. In fact, we're going to be following up on that, and so I just had a conversation about that. And then we had State of the Black World Conference number 4 in 2016 that was off the charts, and we just finished State of the Black World Conference 5 in Baltimore. But we are talking about returning to Newark for the next State of the Black World Conference. So we just had that conversation. I was just listening to discussion around climate change and so forth. And one of the projects that we're asking the mayor to work with us on, and Baba Akili will be involved in it because he's also associated with, I think it's called corporate accountability, is the whole issue of water as a human right, but also climate change and environmental justice. We're going to hold a global summit in the next 24 months. And we want Mayor Raz Baraka, as well as Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba, to be a part of that process. So, that's my mayor. In fact, on my show, for a period of time, the first Monday of every month, we would have a report back from Newark. And the mayor would come on and just update us on what was happening.
He does your show more than mine. I have to bug my brother to do my show.
You have to bug him.
Yeah, but that's good. I'm glad. Yeah, I've noted that partnership, and it's good stuff. So let's talk about reparations. You have been working on this issue for how long now?
Most of my adult life. I mean, I was mentored by Queen Mother Moore, whom, of course, you would be familiar with and your family and all, and she was my mentor. She said that her job was to operate on constipated brains and minds, and mine was one of them, thank God. And as a graduate student, going off to the State University of New York, Graduate School of Public Affairs, I encountered her and didn't know anything about reparations, but that's the end of that story, because she mentored me, and so I've been working on reparations forever. And of course, John Conyers was one of my dearest friends in Congress. The Honorable Ronald V. Dellums being another close friend. But for many years, Congressman Conyers asked me to co-convene, or to host really, and facilitate the H.R. 40 sessions at the Congressional Black Caucus, and for at least 20 years I did that. But most recently, of course, in 2015, we formed the National African American Reparations Commission. We work synergistically with the CARICOM Reparations Commission, as well as now, a broader global struggle in terms of reparations. We just came out of a summit in Ghana last summer, and there's another summit about to be convened in the next 30 days. And, of course, one of the outstanding developments was Evanston, Illinois, which has actually been in the forefront of actually doing reparations. In fact, there's a study was just released in the last 24 hours, actually, touting Evanston as a model, as we had hoped it would be for other cities. We're on the brink of holding our third annual local reparations symposium in Evanston, coming up November 30th through December 2nd. But this report indicates that across racial lines, contrary to what people may have thought, it is being supported.
Contrary to polling here in California, apparently, the people are supporting it.
Oh yeah, no, they're supporting it in across racial lines.
But does it really matter if they support it? I mean, if it's an obligation, if it's a debt, as Randall Robinson said, then who cares if they support it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't support paying back my student loans, although I did. But if you owe it, you owe it.
Yeah, that's true. But it just sort of, it's good to have that data out there.
Yeah.
That in fact, if more people know about it and see it in action, it works. And then there was efforts to try to there were forces who were really trying to discredit it, and also even in the black community, there were people who said, "So it's not really reparations; it's too small." And yeah, it's small. The fact that it's small does not mean it's not reparations. That's why we need H.R. 40 to get across the finish line.
We got a lot to unpack from what you've already said. So let's start with the small part, because a lot of people, especially the sort of younger end of the movement, but people are saying, well, we should not do reparations on a small scale. We shouldn't do cities. We shouldn't do counties. We should just hold the feds accountable, because otherwise they'll say, oh, we already took care of that. We already gave you your 10 Gs or whatever it was. And I think that's one of the reasons why people were critical of Evanston, even though it's a huge step forward for the reparations movement. The fact that it was limited to housing and was limited to cannabis tax revenue and small amounts.
Yeah, well, but you're right. I mean, that's why we have a National African American Reparations Commission as an authoritative body to help guide and to be a frame of reference. I mean, why would we leave anything on the table? The fact of the matter is, what is happening with in fact, in Evanston, from a psychocultural perspective, was huge, because it says it can be done. And Robin Ruth Simmons is to be commended for her work. We in NARC actually went out and worked with her. We certified Evanston as a replicable model, and these local reparations initiatives are surging all over the country. So the question becomes, why would we leave anything on the table? Every city that is culpable in one way or another should fess up, acknowledge, and repair. And that also applies, frankly, getting beyond municipalities to families, corporations, financial institutions. All of them owe us, and they should, in fact, pay.
Cities, counties, states, private corporations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the argument is that undermines a federal case, because they say, well, the state and the city have already taken care of it. Okay.
No, but it doesn't. But it can't, because there's not enough resources at the local, state, and local level. But what happens is, so this is complementary, not contradictory, actually. In fact, most of the cities are endorsing and helping to push for H.R. 40. In fact, last year we had a major press conference out in Evanston. Elected officials came together to express their support. And we're on the brink. We're right on the door. We're knocking. We're this close to getting it done at the national level. The question,
HR 40,
the matter is,
yeah,
HR 40. But you see, but what is developing is an infrastructure at the local level, so that when HR 40 is passed and the recommendations are adopted, some of those resources will flow, and a lot of those resources will flow through structures that will have already been created because of the incredible organizing that's been done at the local level and at the state level. California, of course, has its own task force. New York is on the brink. Literally, we're waiting any minute now.
The state.
For the governor.
Yeah, because the city already has one, right? Yeah.
And to sign on, as well as New Jersey and Maryland. So it's spreading reparations is no longer a fringe issue. I'm a nationalist, Pan-Africanist, and on the progressive mode, proudly say that. But for many, many years, it was the purview of just us. You know what I mean? It was on the fringes, so to speak, and I don't say that negatively. That's not the case anymore. It is a mainstream issue which is being debated. So people are now all across the country, average, ordinary people are talking about, can I get my check? Now, it's not just about a check, certainly, but I'm just saying that conversation is right at the kitchen table in a way that would not have been the case 25 years ago.
Talking with Dr. Ron Daniels, I want to talk about H.R. 40 when we come forward. Some folks are saying too little, too late with that. It's a waste of time. Let's get to the law. I want to talk about the work that's being done and how we can unify, or do we even need to unify, the very many different organizations that are representing this particular issue at a time when it has moved into the mainstream. Talking with Dr. Ron Daniels, and you're welcome to call 800-920-1580. We are unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with Kate Luzio, former banking executive and now owner of Luminary, who partnered with Chase for this tour. She makes it her business to build community for business owners.
Yes, so I was a banker for 20 years before I decided to become an entrepreneur. 7 of those years were actually at JP Morgan Chase. One of the biggest things that I had going into my entrepreneurial journey was a big background in banking.
So what advice are you giving business owners looking for financial backing today?
So Chase brings in so much knowledge and the opportunity to understand what financial tools are out there for business owners to build, grow, and scale their business. A lot of business owners will say, well, I need to get a loan immediately. Well, you wouldn't just lend money to your friend if you didn't know why they needed it. I tell every business owner, you need a business plan, you need financial projections, you need a banker. Because you have to start building a relationship with a banker so that they get comfortable with how you're going to build that business and so that they can eventually support you in different ways.
Makes sense. So visit the Chase Community Center on Crenshaw and Vernon. Meet a banker today. Tell them about your business. I'm Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
Happy birthday, Metro K-Line. Whether traveling for business or pleasure, it's time you made today a K-Line day. The K-Line can connect you with fun, food, friends, and family from Crenshaw to Inglewood in one safe, clean, comfortable ride. Take the K-Line today and experience the diversity that makes LA such a great place to live, work, and play. Make it a K-Line day. Go Metro. Visit metro.net/K-Line.
Hey. Did you know Vistaprint prints everything a small business needs? Like if a barbershop needs signage, we print outdoor signs, posters, and banners. Or if a ballet school needs merch,
1, 2,
we print tote bags, t-shirts, hoodies, hats. Or if a coffee shop needs a total refresh,
latte for Mike?
Vistaprint designs logos and prints it on menus, mugs, paper bags, anything. Because with Vistaprint, the printabilities are endless. Print it all with 25% off for new customers with code NEW25 at Vistaprint.com.
Your floors can go from clean to dirty fast. From juice spills, whoops, to muddy paw prints, to little sticky finger marks. Good thing your Swiffer WetJet works fast too. Swiffer WetJet easily cleans everyday messes as quick as they happen. The next mess is right around the corner. So grab your Swiffer WetJet and just spray, push, all clean.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
And we're talking with Dr. Ron Daniels. He's a veteran activist on many fronts. He's also the president of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century and one of the conveners of the National, let me get the name right, National Reparations, African American Reparations Committee. Dr. Daniels, what do you say to people who say H.R. 40, which would authorize a study on a federal level, kind of what California already did, on a federal level of the viability of reparations and what reparations should look like? That thing's been, kicking around for decades. Never has it passed. Is it still necessary?
Well, of course it's still necessary, and the reason why it's necessary is because for several reasons. Number one, we have a huge, not only a wealth gap in Black America, we have huge disparities in any number of areas that are directly attributable to the Holocaust of enslavement. We call it the MIAFA, and all of its legacies, which go whether it's the Homestead Act, whether it's the GI Bill, all of these areas in which we were deliberately excluded as a people from benefiting. We are due repair for all of these areas. And so it would be irresponsible on our part. That's what Queen Mother Moore certainly taught. I mean, if nothing else, it is about our dignity and self-respect.
But you're talking about the concept of reparation. I'm not saying is reparation still necessary. I'm saying is H.R. 40 still necessary? Is a study still necessary? Couldn't they duplicate what we've done in California, what they've done in Evanston, and say, okay, let's move forward. We know the harm has been done.
Yeah, but again, it is a federal system. There are state and locals there, right? And the vast majority of the resources of these United States of America reside at the federal level. And indeed, it was the federal government that was culpable, that was complicit in the crimes. So why would we let the federal government off the hook? And by the way, it is not just a study. The bill that was now before the Congress of the United States, because of the work of the National African American Reparations Commission and COBRA and Movement for Black Lives, we approached Congressman Conyers. We said, because initially 1989 and on, it was about convincing ourselves. We had to convince ourselves that reparations was warranted. The national.
I think we're still in that process, if we're being honest.
No. We've made a great strides.
Absolutely, we have. Absolutely, we have. I too have been talking about this since it's way out on the fringes with Mr. Dick Gregory and all kinds of folks. And I know we've made great strides, but there's still a lot of us that think, it's pie in the sky, never going to happen.
Yeah. But I'm one of those. If the glass half full or is half empty, I think it's 3/4 full.
Okay.
And let me just say that the bill that is before the Congress of the United States and that we want Biden to sign by executive order is a bill to study and develop reparations proposals. It is no longer just a study bill. And those proposals, then, the big struggle, even when we pass it, just as in California, the struggle will not be over because we then have to put our muscle behind ensuring that the funding that will be there, and it is there. Clearly, we are seeing this in terms of the war in Ukraine. We're seeing it certainly instantly as it relates to the crisis in the Middle East, the Arab-Israeli conflict, where billions of dollars can instantly be produced in order to address whatever is seen to be necessary. So, no, it is, and we need trillions of dollars over time, and we'll take it on a down payment or installment plan, whatever is necessary. Trillions of dollars will be required in order to do this repair. But and so that's where the fight will come, is that we will not accept anything less than the funding at all levels of these, because now it's like everybody is like, oh yeah, we're ready to go and so forth. But when the rubber hits the road, it's going to be will the funding
a lot,
be there?
Right?
Will the funding
Which is what we're
there?
dealing with in California, and that's where it goes beyond just are we convincing ourselves? Because in California, we have had our task force, they have made recommendations, and now all the talking points, and the big one is, I didn't have any slaves. Why should I, the taxpayer who didn't hold slaves, have to pay for reparations? What do you say to folks that say that?
Well, that's why, again, the education. In fact, that's why the insidious attack on education of history being done erroneously around critical race theory is a real tragedy, because the fact of the matter is the enslavement process did not just benefit a limited group of people. It benefited, to some degree, almost everyone benefited from the Holocaust of enslavement. Or if you just look at the GI Bill, for example.
Everyone that wasn't enslaved, of course.
I mean, but you had people. The GI. If you look at the Homestead Act, there are people who just don't know. If they trace back, and more people, more and more white folks are coming forward. And I do have to give a shout out to an organization based right there in L.A., the Fund for Reparations Now, that is allied with the National African American Reparations Commission, that is doing that work in the white community, educating them about how they benefited. Because there are many people who benefited, but they just don't know it because they have not traced it back.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the slave trade, the triangular trade, in fact, you could argue that the Revolutionary War was fought about this whole issue of enslavement, but you didn't have to be involved. You didn't have to be on the slave ship, But if you were in New England, you weren't involved, but you were benefiting from the traffic because jobs were being generated. And it's the multiplier effect. It's the acceleration principle. And there's an outstanding conscious Euro-American named Trina Brown, who has a classic piece called Traces of the Trade. And she talks about how her family benefited. They were involved, and how all her family benefited, but all the people who worked for her family benefited. And more white Americans are coming forward to tell the story of how they benefited. Because, and if you look at the GI Bill, the FHA, people were able to get benefits that black people did not get.
Even though we paid for them, yeah. Even though we paid for them.
So.
I want to go to these phones real quick. Fahima is calling you from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Fahima.
Baragani and K. Pasa, Dominique, and greetings to you, Dr. Daniels. I want to preface my comments by saying that I was the co-founder of the Howard University chapter of NCOBRA, and I was one of the organizers of not organizer, but I was promoting and helping to organize around the very first Institute of Black World in Atlanta, Georgia, that came on the heels of the UN Conference Against Racism in Durban, South Africa. And I've raised this issue, just give me a moment, with Dr. Abdullah, and this is not a drill. I have a concern, and Dr. Daniels is right about the importance of H.R. 40 on a federal level, but I have a concern. Just give me a minute to lay this out.
You got exactly a minute.
Okay, all right. Sheila Jackson Lee, who picked up the mantle from Congressman Conyers to continue with, H.R. 40. The Republicans in Texas redrew the district so that her and Al Green would end up having to run against each other. So now she's running for mayor in Houston, Texas. And I know Cori Bush and Barbara Lee have introduced legislation, but I'm just really concerned that the ball may be dropped. And I know that Cam Howard and others are pushing for an executive order by Biden for H.R. 40. So, Dr. Daniels, if you'd be kind enough to respond to what I've just laid out and help me to allay my concern.
All right, we only got 20 seconds here before news, traffic, and sports. I don't know if you want to start and then complete it on the other side, Dr. Daniels.
Well, first of all, it's great to hear from you again, my sister. I remember you well, but be not concerned. We will answer your question. We are on the brink. Sheila Jackson Lee, whether she wins the mayoralty in Houston, Texas or not, we're going to get H.R. 40 across the finish line as an executive order. We are all united in pushing Biden to sign and create the H.R. 40 commission by executive order. That's where we are. That's where we need to be.
News, traffic, and sports, and then more details on that. It's interesting, this We Are on the Brink. What does that mean? We'll get details when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Hundreds of police are combing the state of Maine in search for a man accused of killing at least 16 people and injuring dozens more. Cops believe 40-year-old Robert Card went on a shooting spree Wednesday night at a bar and bowling alley in the town of Lewiston, and that a white SUV they believe he was driving has been found 7 miles away. Maryland's Attorney General and Public Defender have announced a new initiative to address the over-incarceration of African Americans and other marginalized groups in the state. Anthony Brown and Natasha Darteague say the Maryland Equitable Justice Collaborative will work to reduce mass incarceration through communities that will address specific issues that contribute to incarceration rates. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
The Monterey Bay Aquarium is more than a place to learn about ocean animals. They're also working to inspire conservation of the ocean by stopping plastic pollution, supporting sustainable seafood, and minimizing our carbon footprint. Join them in their efforts to protect the ocean.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Impressive win for the Clippers last night in their season opener against Portland. Kawhi Leonard made all 5 of his 3-pointers. He finished with 23 points. Paul George had a game-high 27. The Clippers are at Utah Friday night. The Lakers play their home opener tonight against Phoenix. Tip-off at 7 on TNT. Houston Astros manager Dusty Baker is retiring. The 74-year-old Baker had a 26-year career as a manager with 5 teams. His 2,183 wins in the regular season ranked 7th all-time. He's 4th all-time with 57 postseason wins. As a player, Baker played 8 of his 19 Major League seasons with the Dodgers. Baker's retirement leaves the Dodgers' Dave Roberts as Major League Baseball's only black manager. Major League Baseball needs to fix that stat. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We're celebrating 1 year of the K. From checking out the vibrant art and diverse dining in Lamert Park to cheering on your favorite team in Inglewood, you can choose your own adventure when you ride the Metro K-Line. Leave the car at home and go Metro. Visit metro.net/K-Line.
At City National, we listen to you.
I want to expand my business and my legacy.
I want to set up the next generation for success.
I want to see my vision come to life.
I want to feel right at home. Your goals, passions, vision, future. We want to hear it and work alongside you to achieve it. Visit cnb.com to learn more. City National Bank. Here for our clients and communities.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talents, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Do you have both Medi-Cal and Medicare?
If so, the new LA Care plan called Medicare Plus can help you get the most out of your health plan for $0.
LA Care provides personalized service to Angelinos like us.
Plus, it gives us access to doctors and specialists across Los Angeles County.
For zero cost, we get access to full benefits.
From vision coverage,
in-home support services,
to prescription drug coverage
and a quarterly over-the-counter allowance,
plus personal equipment,
meal programs,
a gym membership,
and so much more.
For more than 25 years,
LA Care has provided Angelinos with access to quality health care at an affordable cost.
For our families,
our seniors,
our community,
it's a plus.
It's a plus
for all of us.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
In Cobra co-convener and the president of the Institute of the Black World, Dr. Ron Daniels, joining us. Before News, Traffic, and Sports, Dr. Daniels, we were talking about H.R. 40, and Fahima called with her concerns that because Representative Lee is running for mayor, that the ball will be dropped with H.R. 40. You said earlier that you feel that that President Biden is on the brink of signing an executive order to enact basically the provisions of H.R. 40. And why do you feel that way? It seems like something the president would not do before an election, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
love to be wrong about that.
Biden has done frankly, a lot of incredible things that aren't talked about enough, or should be talked about. I mean, he's the first. I mean, he from the very day one did an executive order decreeing equity would be used to look at all policies in the federal government. That was an important milestone. In addition, he has actually put in his mouth and has said white supremacy is a threat to not only black Americans, it's a threat to America. So he's been pretty bold on a number of things, except that there is the perennial concern that saying or adopting policies that benefit black people and people of color will somehow frighten and scare away white voters. And to some degree, that may be true. The problem with that formula is that we contend that for every white vote that you might lose, you're certainly not going to lose progressive votes, by the way. You're not losing progressive whites over reparations. They support it. You will gain many, many more black voters, particularly younger voters, who may not in fact be participating, or who may need to see something specifically that they believe in, like student loan relief and or reparations, as a way of moving forward. That is the battle that we're fighting with Biden at this point. We have piled up more co-sponsors on this bill than in the history of the bill. Back in the day with Conyers, it was an educational bill. We never really worried about how many co-sponsors, just enough to keep it alive and to educate people and get them on board. Never got more than about 50 co-sponsors. This bill in the last Congress was up to 196. Let me say that again, 196 co-sponsors. And with yes votes, those are people who say, well, I won't co-sponsor, but if it hits the floor, I'll vote for it. We were one vote shy, and the votes were there. We'd have gotten that vote to put it across the finish line. However, the point is that understanding the political realities, that we could have scored a moral victory by getting it past the House of Representatives. Cory Booker was sponsoring it and co-sponsoring it in the Senate, but we know that it would not have gotten past the filibuster and cloture rules in the Senate. So it would have been a moral victory. So therefore, we knew that ultimately, therefore, given that circumstance, that we had to press for the executive order, and that's where we are now. And that is Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. In fact, I literally, and when I get off of this call within an hour, I will be on the phone with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee reporting there's a broad-based coalition, the H.R. 40 Strategy Group, that includes not only African-American organizations, but, the American Civil Liberties Union, Center for American Progress, Human Rights Watch, a broad range of groups who have come together, the unusual suspects who are on board with this, to talk about how do we finally get what could be an emancipation moment from President Biden. So actually language is being drafted. There seems to be some willingness But we really, really, really have to push this over the finish line and persuade Biden that this is not going to be costly. In fact, he needs every vote he can get, particularly out of the black community and black and brown communities, in order to overcome the threat of fascism in the person of Agent Orange, or the Orange Man, a.k.a. Agent Orange, as I call him. So we're in a good place. I'm optimistic. We have Reverend Robert Turner, the former pastor of the historic Vernon AME Church in Tulsa, the last remaining structure from the Tulsa Massacre, who's now at the Empowerment Temple, having replaced Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant. He's been walking to the White House every month, once a month, 40 miles, 80,000 steps. He did it with at the Congressional Black Caucus, came right up into the session.
Yeah.
He's doing it again.
Hopefully those kinds of protests and gestures create momentum and actual.
Well, we have the momentum. We just have to we're asking everybody to just keep pushing Biden, elected officials and everything, to sign the executive order with the assurance that, in fact, this will not be a deficit. It will definitely be an asset.
Okay, I got a lot of questions that are not answered, so either we'll have to do a part 2 or we'll have to do a speed round. But why do you say it's an emancipation moment? I mean, it's a study. Like, it's not even if we got H.R. 40 tomorrow, we're not across the finish line with reparations, right?
Well, we're not across the finish line because there's first of all, there is a study. It's $20 million budget. They'll be moving all across the country to get people's opinions and ideas. That process in and of itself is important.
True.
But we then have to build the political movement to ensure that, in fact, the allocations will be behind it. And by the way, one of the things that should happen, therefore, unlike in California, what they did was the commission ended once the study ended. That should not have happened. This commission should have been alive to continue to press. In New York, similarly, they're now saying, no, we're not. Once the study is over, we're going to keep the commission alive. The H.R. 40 commission should live beyond.
Yeah. They tried.
Study.
It didn't work, but they tried to extend it.
I remember, and unfortunately, Galvin Newsom vetoed it. I remember the struggle. We were very much involved in that. What we're in. My point is, we're in an unprecedented place with reparations surging everywhere. So we have to remain optimistic, vigilant, but strong in demanding that, that black voters will, in fact, are crucial to the Democratic Party and are needed by the Democratic Party. And when I say emancipation in a moment, I'm saying this is something that would, in fact, enhance Biden's legacy as a president of the United States, having been the one who had the audacity and courage, one way or another. Even if it were passed the House of Representatives, he would have to, and the Congress, he'd have to sign it. Now he has, in his plate, is the capacity to himself do it by an executive order. That would be an incredible legacy for Joseph Biden to have done.
Do you think there's any chance that Republicans would ever do this? I mean, given the fact now that you have some more right-leaning, black folks who are on board with reparations.
No, I don't think so. I think John Henry Clark said we're facing. He said white nationalism is the enemy of black nationalism. I'll just translate that to say that white nationalism is the enemy of black people. And what we see in the Republican Party is so frightening. Because if you look at the polls and you see the race between Biden and the Orange Man, it's like Biden's up 2 points or down 2 points and whatever. How could that possibly? What that says is there are millions of people in this country who buy into all of the racist, misogynist. I mean, there are so many antis that are frightening, and that's why we have to mobilize to blunt and block it. And quite frankly, it is poetic, ironic justice that it is the rejected stones. We, as African Americans, almost more than anyone else, joining with Native Americans and other people who have been marginalized, who actually will rescue this nation and make it the more perfect union
it has
never, ever been.
Once again, yeah, Mike Johnson being speaker is really all you have to look to. You don't even have to look to the presidential race. The fact that somebody who literally denied the election is now the Speaker of the House of Representatives speaks volumes. We're talking with Dr. Ron Daniels. We got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
A sense of peace, a place to kick back and put down roots, a lasting legacy. However you define home, at City National, we're committed to helping you get there with our City National Ladder Up Home Loan Program. Find the full benefits at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National Bank, here for our clients and communities. Ladder Up program is available only in select areas. Terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS ID 536994.
The Green Foundation, key health influencer, empowering our Black communities through action. The Green Foundation advocates for affordable health care, accessibility, and knows the importance of culturally relatable health care. Regardless of income, we believe it is a right for optimum health. The Green Foundation has been at the forefront for 25 years, dedicated solely to promoting prevention through early detection, annual screenings, and nutrition. We know you because we are you. Our hand-holding approach supports you and your family to receive your right to be treated fairly and receiving quality healthcare services. We want you and your family to know COVID-19 was devastating to our families and to our wallet. We can build back better by understanding prevention, wearing your mask, washing your hands, social distancing, and understanding the impact of long COVID. Get the care you deserve. Take advantage of your privileges. Contact us, info@thegreenfoundation.net. info@thegreenfoundation.net.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominic DePrima right now.
Right now, getting back to Dr. Ron Daniels, the National African American Reparations Commission is one of the organizations he helped co-found, along with the Institute of the Black World, of which he is president, radio host, and commentator. So many questions here. I don't think a speed round is going to work. So we'll just have to continue the conversation. But we talk about, all of these organizations coming together and the momentum behind reparations, and truly the move from being a fringe issue to being right in the mainstream of American politics happened much quicker than I certainly thought it ever would. But what I see a lot of division within the space of reparations, where people that, like yourself, who have been working on it for decades, are in conflict with young folks who are, organizing around, whether it be, Freedmen or ADOS or all of these different youth organizations, younger organizations that are, making a lot of headway in their own spaces, certainly in bringing the conversation to the forefront. How do we find, at least our operational unity?
Well, first of all, the organizations there is largely unity in the reparations movement. What you do have are relatively new folks who come on board, and frankly, I think that's good. I appreciate the energy. I don't appreciate, frankly, the tactics that are often used, because the vilification, the kind of nastiness that has come with persons who were associated with ADOS is not to be commended. The issues they raise are legitimate issues. The issue of lineage, the issue is who should get reparations and in what form, is a legitimate debate and should be brought to the table. And I think that energy is incredibly important. But they by no means represent. They are extremely loud voice. They're a voice that is focused on one specific narrow way of interpreting reparations, and they have been. I mean, so they take over a meeting. I mean, I have an axiom: an unorganized minority can also always be defeated by an unorganized majority. So they have focused on, and so therefore they've been successful, particularly using social media and whatever, in getting a certain language out there about the American descendants of slavery. At the end of the day, what we say within NARC, and most of the organizations are fully on board with this, is that we advocate for comprehensive reparations. And by that we mean lineage is of course important, in that we obviously want reparations for enslavement, but reparations are by definition for much more than that. It is for all the things that we talked about earlier today. It is for all of the racially exclusionary policies that have been targeted against black people right up to the present. And that includes the Homestead Act, the GI Bill, FHA, redlining, police terror and violence in terms of the war on drugs right up to the present. So the question is, why would we leave anything on the table, number one? Secondly, there's a kind of anti-nativist string to it. Well, those Africans are taking our reparations, or them people coming from the Caribbean, and so yeah. So Malcolm X is coming from the Caribbean. Kwame Ture is coming. Shirley Chisholm's ancestors are coming. We're going to deny them Harry Belafonte. I mean, of course, that isn't, on the face of it, this really does not make sense. So it's a kind of well-meaning, to put it most generously, impulse and or strategy or ideology, if you will. But it is restrictive, and I think most people, once they examine it for what it is, agree with NARC and the Urban League, the NAACP, and COBRA. You go on and on, Reparations United, on and on and on and on, who favor comprehensive reparations to get it all. We're not leaving anything on the table in terms of the crimes and injuries inflicted upon our people.
I mean, I think, it doesn't make any sense to leave anything on the table, but I also think that there's peril for, veteran activists and elders in being dismissive of young activists or, wholesale critical of their tactics. I mean, I saw that with, Black Lives Matter when they first came out, where church leaders were like, well, they're too disruptive, but they're going to do it their way and we're going to do it our way, and everybody has a role to play. We'll address that. And I mean, and also what you think folks ought to be doing if they really want to move the ball when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
King C. Gillette knows you're dedicated to your barbershop routine, but how do you maintain the beard hair you already have? The King C. Gillette Beard Thickener helps to reduce patchiness and strengthens hair's resilience to breakage. Apply the King C. Gillette Beard Thickener daily to see a thicker and fuller beard in just 14 days. It's highly scented with King C. Gillette's signature scent. Just trim, wash, and soften. With King C. Gillette.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
We don't black down. Okay, thank you, Maslow. You know what, Dr. Daniels, I asked you a couple questions before we hit break, but a bunch of people are calling, so I'm going to try to squeeze in these calls, and then hopefully you can squeeze in my question. Amin from L.A., can you give me the short version?
Yeah, real fast. I just came in on the tip end. You were talking about a Trina Brown or something, or a piece or a book or something that she wrote about
Traces of the Trade.
Okay, yeah. I'd like to know a little bit more about the struggle of Caucasian people to educate each other. I was wondering if you had.
Okay, thanks, Amin. Can you address that, Dr. Daniels?
If you go to the website, ibw21.org, I've been a poor organizer. I should have said that several times. Go to ibw21.org and go to the Reparations Resource Center. We have the most extensive online reparations resource center in the world. Look up the Fund for Reparations Now, Fund for Reparations Now. They are incredible white allies who are working on the struggle and educating and have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to support NARC's 10-point program. And by the way, you can find the 10-point program of the National African American Reparations Commission on the website, ibw21.org.
Thank you, Amin. Going to someone you know, Akili. Good morning.
Good morning, Ron. How you doing? And welcome to KBLA. Ron, I didn't hear you give out the IBW website, so I wanted to encourage you to do that. But how do you see moving forward with HR 40? I know that there's been a push to see if we can get an executive order on that. What is the status on that, and what's happening?
Kind of talked about that, but let's do the Cliff's Notes version, Dr. Daniels.
Well, one of the things we need is we're trying to enlist literally the support of Black Lives Matter, Movement for Black Lives, younger organizers to take the next step, actually, to in their, since they are critical to the re-election of Biden, we're asking them really to step forward and to outline what they think is the next step forward. Literally, that's the source of a call we get ready to do at noon.
IBEW21.org, Akili, I'll say it again, IBEW21.org. Dr. Daniels, you want to close us out? What ought we be doing? And if you want to address, if you have time to address my question.
That you mentioned, I'm a strong proponent of operational unity. I mean, that's what we practice in the Institute of the Black World 21st Century. We say promoting collaboration to heal and empower Black families, communities, and nations. So we're very much in favor of that, but there are rules of engagement. And one of the rules of engagement is that we must approach each other civilly and not on the base. So it has nothing to do with the ideology. It has to do with the civility. And if anybody who's experienced some of the sessions that ADOs have done, and they have gotten better, and that's.
I mean, but I'm not just talking about ADO. There's lots of other similar organizations that are younger.
We're engaging people all the time. We have all kind of young people came to the State of the Black World Conference. We have we're in fact outreaching to young people all the time, and we do not have that problem with anybody. In fact, the reputation we bring to the table is always working cross generations, always. So people are welcome to join. In fact, that's essential that we not only share the torch but pass the torch. So that is not an issue with NARC nor with the Institute of the Black World 21st Century ever.
And just you got a minute here. What should folks be doing if they really want to move the ball on reparations?
Well, what they should be moving, they should be bombarding the White House, saying to Biden, sign the HR 40 commission by executive order. It's hashtag EO40. Hashtag EO40 is the social media handle. Push the White House to move this by executive order, and we're going to get it done.
So, I mean, calls, emails. There's a thing you can do on the website where you can.
All of that.
Yeah.
All of that. We need an avalanche, and it's difficult in this moment, of course, because there's a focus, on a very, very critical crisis that we could also spend hours on talking about, and that is the conflict in the Middle East and the imbalance that is that the U.S. has taken. But that's a whole nother conversation, but I am honored and pleased that we have been the conscience, meaning Black people and people of color have been the conscience, pushing for equitable treatment of folk and not just a one-sided imbalance in these critical crises. And it's so good to have been on with you, Dominique. I've loved it.
Well, I appreciate you joining us this morning. Hopefully you'll do it again. It's been my honor to talk with you as well. And so, yeah, we'll have to be bugging you to come back one more time or several more times. Dr. Ron Daniels, much appreciation.
Back to you.
Continuing our conversation, it is a busy, busy day around here. What does it mean to be African in the world? Chief Ayanda Clark joins us next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Hundreds of police are combing the state of Maine in search for a man accused of killing at least 16 people and injuring dozens more. Cops believe 40-year-old Robert Card went on a shooting spree Wednesday night at a bar and bowling alley in the town of Lewiston, and that a white SUV they believe he was driving has been